we have Ivan Harbour. He's an architect and senior director at RSHB. And Ivan is deeply involved in design from city scale to the smallest detail, and together with Graham Sturck promotes and develops the ethos and design quality for which the practice is renowned. Two of Ivan's projects, Terminal 4, Barajas Airport in Madrid, and Mackey's West in London, won the Steering Prize, the most prestigious architectural award in UK. And welcome, Ivan.
I once came across a banker, and she asked me what I did, and thinking it was a banker, I said, "Oh, I spend people's money." She said, "Oh, are you in the arts?" I said, "No, actually, it's far worse than that. I'm an architect." Oh, and I think it's a very important point. You know, as architects, we have a huge responsibility, and you know, no matter a project for anyone, whether it's a big organisation or someone doing a bathroom conversion, you have to pay real money to real people to do real things. So there is a huge amount of responsibility in being an architect. But I think as in that field, in order to do that well, you've got to do it with a sense of humour. You've got to be always uplifted and be positive, because it's also a very long process. So I'm trying to break this talk down into three parts. First is, you know, what is the context that where we make design happen, and that context is not just a sort of physical context, but a context, actually, I called it conceptual context here, but this is actually our constitution, or it's a summary of our constitution, written by Richard Rogers back in 1990. And what it does is it defines our role, our responsibilities as architects generally, how we should manage our practice, and very importantly, our practice is actually owned by charity. There's no ownership, naked in, naked out. And then what we should do if we make money, where should that go? And we give a lot of that to charity. So that sets a sort of context that actually then is, of course, reflected in the design. As architects, of course, you know, we're about space. Making space, so of course our studio, that's obvious, really is a reflection of what we are and what we want to be about ourselves. So this particular office, which is in one of our buildings in the City of London, the Leadenhall building, we couldn't have office chairs because obviously it's an office building, so we don't have office chairs. And it's some way of saying, yes, this isn't an office, but it is a creative place. And the sort of work hard, play hard feel that we have in here is, I think, essential in order to, again, support the way that we do our work and how we do it. You know, the people, the participants are, you know, literally all colours. Here we are. And also thinking about them as a practice is not just architects. It's a broad group. And all of these people are essential in that operation. So as one of the partners, leaders of this organisation, actually you owe it to all of these individuals really to help them achieve, and also to always drive and strive for a better future. And the teamwork itself, and something we've always advocated as a practice, is that it's not just about the architect, it's about a broader team, it's about engineers, it's about specialists, not being brought in at the last possible moment, but actually from the outset. We can create nothing without that broader team. It goes back to this thing about our responsibilities and that broad role we have as practitioners. The collaboration within the practice itself, you know, the idea, I mean, every practice will say we're collaborative, but there is something, and that's the title of the talk, is conductor. It's an orchestra here. It has people that play fantastic instruments, and they play them very well, much better than the conductor, and people that write the score. Sometimes the conductor writes the score, or some of the score. So although it's collaboration, it does need decision-making and direction. You can't have a random orchestra just doing everything and hope to generate something exciting. I mean, it would work, I guess, statistically eventually, but the conductor is a really important part of that. And the most amazing conductor I've ever met is Richard Rodgers. Absolutely extraordinary. No one approached him. And actually his great ability was his inability to do some of the other things. So his ability as the conductor was supreme. The second set is what is the sort of process? How do we go about design? I love listening to the AI thing because the one thing you trip AI up with is by doing the unexpected. The drivers of design, I think, and these are a list of some of the drivers that we have in the practice, they're constantly evolving, but they are things that we use and they're references that we attach, I would say, subconsciously to the work, all the work that we do. None of them is about aesthetic, and that's very important, so it allows us to be as creative as we like. But there are some important stuff in here, like efficiency. You know. For us as the public, those things are super important. The public always come first. You know, when you're doing a design and you're originating the work, you need to summarize it very, very simply and very quickly. I always say if you can't summarize the concept of a building in 10 seconds, it's probably too complicated. And you use that idea, that originating idea, as a way of judging all decisions as you evolve the project through the process. I'm often, and more so these days, of course, with access to the internet, when I'm with a group, someone will say, oh, I've seen a building a little bit like what you're suggesting there. Don't show me. That's one of the most important things. Is I think when you're thinking design, and you have to think about your experience. You have to think about the particular challenge. You're thinking about other things around, things that all the things that evolve around life, and those come together, and you throw them together, and you might generate something from that. As soon as you have an image of something that someone says, oh, looks a little bit like what you are sketching there, you're stuck. You're stuck. And this is a project and a reference. We were asked to do a building that celebrated getting in and out of a city. For the competition, we did that. As soon as we won the competition, we did that, because what we were quite interested in were those streets. But it still celebrates the city. The way that we express that design, that initial design, the way that comes across, of course, these days are more so, we just completed another 1 minute multimedia presentation with all the generated graphics. I find them very uncomfortable because life isn't like that. We don't judge space by single point or double point precise perspective, or even the camera. We scan space. We can see a lot more than any camera can. And I think that the process of that explanation is something that needs to engage particularly our clients within that process. And this is a model, how he made out of balsa wood. It tells me a lot more because I can walk around this model, I can take my own point of view. The mindset about developing design and the ability sort of to evolve, the rolling process of reinvestigating as you move through it. You often have a hunch of what might be right. You usually spend the next 6 months going around in rolling circles. You end up back where you were, but you've tested that design. And I think, again, just listening to the data thing, this is data, it's just a PDF of a drawing. Multiple hands are on that drawing, and that is a design process. That's just written down there. And that's important because it's really demonstrated evolution. It's not a precious thing. It's just, but it's become more precious since the building has been realised. And this is the building, of course, that came from that. And really, I think the point here is that how do you do something of this scale? How do you work? It was mentioned in the title, working at the small scale, working at the massive scale. Those two images, those two sketches on the first page were the big building. This one. 1.2 million square meters, and the other one was a very small building, 300 square meters. But they were just as complex as each other. And the only way to solve the big one was to think about how you could get excited about evolving one part that could do everything. So it's if you magnified the small building 1,000 times, it would have been an impossibility. The other thing about architecture, unlike art, although I'm sure artists, in fact I know a number of artists will say they always compromise, as architects we do have to compromise. Everything is a compromise. In fact, compromise is actually refinement. It's accepting those realities. It's going back to the banker. You know, it does have to be affordable, does have to be buildable. This is Barangaroo, it's a city quarter. We did the master plan, we also did the financial engine, those 3 towers. Without that financial engine, we wouldn't have delivered a huge piece of public realm for the city and we wouldn't have changed that city around. But to get to that point was a vast set of compromises, often in quite unpleasant circumstances. But once we got through all of that process, everyone has a buy-in because they've been part of the conversation, and the result is been extremely successful. You also need, of course, a lot of, let's say, tenacity to keep going, because architecture takes a very, 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 very long time. This is probably a few months ago in a tube station, a metro station we're doing in Naples at Capodichino Airport. It's been going for 20 years. It's got a few years to go. It's fantastic. I mean, they keep changing stuff, and it's fantastic. And we keep compromising and adapting, and it moves forward. It's a sort of evolving thing. But it's still got, what is really important, it's still got the really simple idea, and it sits there, and it's pretty impressive. So welcome to Naples soon will be quite something. Experience, and I can say this now because I've been doing it for actually quite a long time. Experience, I've just been to see the Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg 30 years ago, next year 30 years complete. I did it when I was 27, my goodness. And I thought I knew it all then. I know nothing or very little, but I think that experience is quite useful in the end to refer back to, just to help others, to guide others from that experience. Not by saying, don't do it like that, I did it like that, and it all went horribly wrong. It's just, you sort of bring in you're able to support with some sort of tacit knowledge about, you might begin to know what you're talking about by the time you retire. So now I'm going to the last part of this is just to go a few sort of things that bug me or things that excite me about architecture. Taste. This is some not particularly great photos, but this is Melbourne Metro. It will be delivered, I think, middle of next year, probably be active in a year after that. Architecture should never be trendy, okay? It should never, ever be stylized and be of the moment, because we have to do it we're working ahead of us. We're working for the future, 60 years hence. It all must be robust. To be durable, it has to have great integrity, and it must appeal to people. It's all about what people experience, in this case very clearly, light, shadow, acoustic, all the senses, how you deal with the senses, touch. Testing stuff, we still have to test a lot as an architect. You know, we've still got no real way of understanding what we get, so always impressing on clients that building mock-ups to see what you're going to get is going to be very important if you're going to live with this forever. The diagram, I've talked about the diagram, 10 seconds. It's a summary, by the way. The diagram is a summary of a whole lot of discussion. Any architect who says that's the concept diagram is lying. The plan, key thing about a plan, this is, of course, the Pompidou Centre. It doesn't have to be a complicated plan to be a beautiful, interesting building. Seriously important that. This is not a boring building. It's a very simple plan. Most of our plans are sort of rectangles. That's not a good thing. The section, of course, is the other thing. Again, these are all hand drawings. This is a section for Terminal 5, and it's a section that says the experience through an airport could be quite interesting, and it varies. And so the section is about describing experience. So for me, as an old practitioner, I understand that if architects understand the scale of the plan and the scale of the section, they can form an opinion about the building. And finally, back to Baracus, another airport. Repetition, poetry, the sort of rhythm of buildings, I think, is super important. Buildings are background in the most part, and their rhythm is super important. We're so lucky in London to have Georgian London, Victorian London. That sort of rhythmic background, super important. You know, when I do competitions and we're being told, you know, you've got to jazz it up a bit and make it all another animal in the zoo, I find it so depressing because you can't create a city without background. That's me. Thank you.